is all masked off, bottom and top. Gonna shoot it down with some satin black. See, I've taped off the spokes. Let's get started. There you go, couple of coats of VHT satin black wheel paint. That's good right there. Part number SP183. So the instructions say it needs 3 hours to dry before it can be handled, so I'm going to leave it just sitting right there and let it dry for a few hours, and we'll come back to it. So here we are, we've got the wheel ready to go in, so I can go ahead and put the belt back on. But first we need to install the wheel bearings. Now before we go installing the wheel bearings, we need to grease the wheel bearings. I figured I'd show you guys how to do that. First you're going to want some gloves for this. Now since this is going on the motorcycle and I'm not a fair weather rider, I'm going to be using some marine grade calcium sulfonate grease. I'm going to do another video a little later on various types of grease and why you should use which one and when. MarineMax did not have a tub of this, so I have to open the tube and use it. So here's the wheel bearings. I'm going to be reusing them. There's no play or anything in them. They're in good condition. I cleaned them down. Cleaned them with some kerosene, some brake cleaner. Made sure all the old grease was out. Just for compatibility between different greases, you always want to make sure you just remove all the old stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a glob. I'm just going to put it in the palm of my hand here. You see this stuff is very stringy, sticky stuff. I'm going to take a new bearing, take my glob, and I'm just going to start working it in. And what I'm doing is I'm forcing it up between the rollers. And I want to keep forcing it. You can see it start to come through the rollers. I keep forcing it until it actually comes all the way out the other side. That way I know I've got good grease penetration all the way through. I'm going to go around the entire bearing like that. You see now why you're going to use gloves. So just keep working the grease up through the bearing. You can see I've got this nice ring coming out. I'm going to work it all the way around. Make sure the rollers have plenty. And then what I like to do is actually go ahead and roll the bearing through a couple of rotations just to make absolutely certain that I got plenty of grease in there. Now that I've got this bearing nicely greased, go ahead and insert it into its race. Now I'm ready to go get another little glob, just so I don't waste the grease. I can basically combine it all back into the palm of my hand again and start working the next bearing. Now in this case on the FXR, actually I need to grease my center shaft. So I'll just go ahead and do that. Make sure I've got a nice glob on the end of both of these. Naturally when you're covered in grease is when someone calls. Well, whoever that was is going to have to wait until after I get the second one done, because I'm not taking these back off right now. Nice thing with calcium sulfonate grease, it's so sticky. I have no problem at all. Just sort of put my hand vertical so you guys can see this. You can see I've got one little gap there, right here, where I don't have the grease all the way through. One of the reasons I like doing this by hand instead of using one of those grease bearing packers is the fact that the grease bearing packer, you can't guarantee you've gotten it all the way through. It's a little bit of a pain to make certain that you have actually packed every single one of these. One well greased bearing there. Let's go ahead and get it in place. Since this is all nice clean grease, no point in letting any of it go to waste. I'll scoop off what I can and put it back in the tub, or well, the tube. No point wasting perfectly good grease. Alright, there you have it. There you go. Alright, so I've got my seal driver here for my new wheel seals. Your seal driver over it. There's one wheel seal in. Straight. There you go. Wheel seals are in. No problem at all. Now we'll get ready to get this axle back in, and get the axle back in and get the whole thing mounted up.